final lap here.
Viney one last trip through the 10 Commandments. Here we go. And here comes Noah Viney, Kevin.
That'll do it. Super Mini 2, 13-16, puts the finishing touches on the 40th annual Monster Energy AMA Amateur National Motocross Championships here from a beautiful Loretta Lynn's.
For all of us here at Racer TV, at MX Sports, Loretta Lynn's, and the Amateur National Motocross Championship, on behalf of Jason Wygant, Matt Megawatt Watson, Kevin Kelly, and of course Ehab, I'm Rodney Tomlin. Have a great and wonderful year, everyone.
From August 2nd through the 7th, 2021, tens of thousands of people filled Loretta Lynn's ranch for the AMA Amateur National Motocross Championship.
The National Weather Service in Nashville has issued a flash flood warning for Dixon County in Middle Tennessee, Northern Hickman County in Middle Tennessee, Houston County in Middle Tennessee, Northeastern Humphreys County in Middle Tennessee.
Waverly has seen some of the worst damage we've seen today. Rescue crews have had a hard time even getting into the area.
This is what's left of Waverly, Tennessee.
The Waverly flood.
And people are asked to stay off the road so they don't interfere with emergency operations.
Morning, we're on the ground in Humphreys County getting a first-hand look at the damage left behind.
Still searching for the rest of the people who were missing after yesterday's floods.
Residents there say flash flooding happened so quickly they didn't have a chance to evacuate.
You know, 2 Saturdays after we crowned our national champions here, our 40th running of the Monster Energy AMA Amateur National Motocross Championship, we celebrated so many accomplishments, and then on the next week, while much of the moto community was at Budds Creek, Maryland, getting ready to watch the gate drop on the Pro Motocross Championships, this area was hit with torrential rain. And it was actually rain upstream from here. Unprecedented biblical rain. And it was a wall of water. The locals will tell you that it was not a flood. You know, floods have rising water and water that goes down, but this was much different than they've ever experienced. And it was a wall of water that came down through this valley and wreaked havoc here at Loretta Lynn's and of course the nearby community of Waverly.
The city of Waverly, where we lost 19 individuals. We lost another individual here at this very space. Has brought a kind of devastation to our community that we've never had to experience before.
We were concerned that morning with the rainfall. We started to monitor the creek levels, and as the creek rose, it was a very quick event. This was basically a tidal wave that came through the valley in Waverly and basically washed a large section of the town away. Destruction was just unbelievable as we could get into the areas and see the kind of damage we had, the people that were displaced, and then trying to account for people that were lost or unaccounted for.
I'm Mike Davidson. I was in town that day when it all hit. I was on Main Street, people screaming, my child is in an attic, I can't get them out. My child's in a car, I can't get to them. It was a nightmare. The small creek expanded to a major river. Just west of here at Cache Savers, the flood coming down in front of that looked more like the Akui River and rapids than it did just a flood. I've talked to almost all of the homeowners. I've been in all the houses, measuring them to figure out the materials we need. I hear stories of seeing a wall of water. The latest one I heard was it actually looked like a big surf wave that you'd see a surfer on coming towards them.
They took me down into the hardest hit areas of Waverly. And I'll never forget the day I was walking down what used to be a street with the county administrator, Jesse Wallace. And the homes were just everywhere, just strewn everywhere, just like someone just shook them up. And there were you know, some homes that were supposed to be on, say, this street, but now we're on that street and vice versa.
My name is Anthony Bruno. I am the general manager of Loretta Lynn's ranch, and Loretta Lynn is my grandmother. You know, I woke up that morning in August, and I actually was coming to pick up some of the workers from MX Sports to get some of the equipment and stuff back to Morgantown, and I was in Nashville grabbing them, and I got a phone call saying, you know, hey, Waverly's flooding. Can some people come out to the ranch and get respite from the flood? It's really, really bad. And about 30 minutes later, 20 minutes later, something like that, I get a phone call saying, hey, cancel that, the ranch is underwater. It's just kind of a wild morning, because when I left for Nashville, which takes about an hour, it was just puddles on the ground. You know, the creek wasn't up, nothing. And then within the span of an hour and a half, it went from nothing to being torrential downpour and flooded area.
It's like a 100-year storm, and it rained, you know, countless inches over the course of 24 hours. It all got up in the valleys above Waverly and McCune, and it came roaring down. And what was a very tranquil Hurricane Creek turned into a massive flood, and it destroyed the place. It also destroyed the community of Waverly, and they've been rebuilding ever since, and we've just been trying to help. I couldn't get my head wrapped around it, because had that happened 1 week earlier, we'd have been doing a different kind of fundraiser, and it had been very tragic. And you know, we've been here for, you know, this is the 42nd year for me, and it'll be the 42nd year for the race coming up. And I've never seen something like that. I've seen, you know, floods here and there, and bad weather, and even a hurricane or two, but that was the absolute craziest weather system I had ever seen. And immediately I started thinking, this is going to be really bad for the people that live in that valley and the people who live in that community. Wayne Spear, the ranch manager, who was hanging on for dear life at the staging area behind the starting gate. And when I found out that he had passed in the storm, I was devastated.
You know, and with Wayne losing his life here, you know, is a big part. We all knew him. Whether you talked to him or not, or whether you personally met him, when you saw his picture, you remember him from being here.
Wayne loved the ranch. He loved the people. It was actually what he lived for. I shared more of Wayne with the ranch than I did my own life. Oh, I feel like Wayne's right here with us, because he never liked to leave.
I was pretty overwhelmed whenever I first was there, and that first day, after that first day, and we actually found Wayne's body after he passed away in the flood, and I actually had a dream at home, and I was there, and you know, I was standing in the middle of the motocross track actually, and I'm looking around just totally devastated by what's going on. I'm sitting here looking around like this, and I catch something out of the side of my eye, and I look around, and Wayne's standing there, and I'm like, what do I do? And he just said, you got to just start, buddy. And that was kind of whenever I broke it down into pieces for myself, and figuring out how we can get help from outside people and things like that.
And by that point, we knew that there was, you know, more than just a couple of people that had been, you know, unfortunately killed by this flood. And you know, that's when our attention turned to doing whatever we could to help the community, and specifically the people that welcome motocross with open arms every year. Not you know, the motocross track's fine, we'll fix that ourselves. But the community and the people that do all the flagging, the work traffic, the pick up garbage, that work at the hotels and restaurants, those are the people that we were really wanting to help.
While the motocross industry watched from afar, the people of Waverly and Humphreys County rallied together and started to rebuild. It's been said the heart of motocross beats in Humphreys County. Loretta Lynn's ranch and the surrounding community has become a second home to thousands of families across the country and world. And when they saw the destruction, they did something. Many in the industry came together and formed the Racers for Waverly fundraising campaign, an industry-wide global relief effort aimed to aid the flood recovery effort in Waverly.
It did not take long for people to start reaching out to me. People that I'm close with, friends, you know, people I ride dirt bikes with, or people that have came to our events. There was actually an overwhelming amount of people that wanted to come help. we were sending a lot of our help into Waverly because, you know, people lost their homes and everything they had.
My name's Lori Armistead. I'm the Director of Marketing and PR for Road to Recovery Foundation. So I got the phone call, I think on the 22nd of August from Tim Cotter, and he was very devastated what was going on. He kind of gave me a run through of how bad the flood was, how bad the devastation was, and asked, is there an opportunity? Is there a way that Road to Recovery can help with funding, since we are the charity of choice for MX Sports? And before I even answered asked the board, I answered automatically, and it was a yes. I knew deep in my bones that this is something not only that our board of directors would want to be involved with, but it was something that is near and dear to our whole motocross community. So I waited for direction from Tim because he needed to rally the troops and to make sure this was something that everyone would be on board with. And he called me back, I think in 2 days. We got the website up and going and started a press release and started accepting funds. We're at 350 and we're donating today that 300,000. We will continue to raise money and hopefully continue to put that money back into the community that is Waverly through the Racers for Waverly initiative. So one thing that was very important for Tim Cotter and the whole MX Sports conglomerate was to make sure that everyone knew and make sure that Road to Recovery allocated 100% of those funds to the community, and not $1, not 1 cent will be spent for the ranch. We've made relationships with people that live here, business owners, small business owners. I've heard stories of people who grew up coming to the ranch to watch motocross and then graduated to a flagger and then graduated, you know, to somebody who's taking care of their ranch, and they live here. They spend their money in the community, they grow up in the community, they go to school here, and it's a symbiotic relationship that we have. So MX Sports and Tim Cotter wanted to make sure that every single dollar raised, again, goes back into this community that's been so grateful and loving to us when we come here. $100,000 will be donated to the Church of Christ. $100,000 will be donated to the United Way, and those are going to be community-specific funding. So for small business, we are donating a total of $100,000 to the Small Business Initiative. We're breaking it up in 2 ways. $85,000 will be donated to the Chamber of Commerce, and they are specifically going to be granting out in $5,000 increments funds to small businesses that need either constructual support or items to be rebuilt in their facilities. And $15,000 is going to the Bohannon family and the Joseph Storehouse. That is specifically going to be purchasing refrigerators and freezers for the food pantry.
I'm Mark Bohannon with Joseph Storehouse of Hurricane Mills, Tennessee. Joseph Storehouse is a local food pantry that my wife and I had a vision from God to create, and it took about 2 years in the making. We opened in April, and we just help support the community with food and you know, toiletries and meats and vegetables and produce. It's such a blessing because you know, freezer space and refrigerator space is such a huge thing, because if we run out of space, we have to turn down donations, and so that's going to give us the ability to stock up more food and to be able to reach more people, you know, efficiently without having to turn down, you know, donations.
We've asked the church as well as the United Way to purchase items in the city. So we want to make sure that they're buying these needs through small businesses, and that will then help keep the money back into Waverly.
I started out here working on the flood after the August 21st. I started on the 3rd day working with Churches of Christ Disaster Response Team. They stayed here through Thanksgiving, and then the Waverly Church of Christ took over everything. Of course, I live here, so I stayed with them, and we're in the process of rebuilding over 200 homes right now. We supply all the materials, installation, wiring, to whatever it takes to get the homes built back. Everybody has pulled together. We've got groups working every day. We've got probably 50 to 200 volunteers on a daily basis. We still need a lot of volunteers. I'm trying to work on groups now, bring them in 15 a week. If I can bring 15 a week in, maybe by December, January, we can have all the homes rebuilt. We've got about 150 left. Like I said, several churches have worked together on this, and it's a slow process, but it is coming back.
The relief efforts in Waverly continue and will do so for some time. But come early August, the focus of the motocross world will be back on Humphreys County for the 41st annual Loretta Lynn's AMA Amateur Motocross National Championship. At the ranch, new construction is underway to bring the hallowed motocross track back to life. David Eller, owner of both Maxon Incorporated and Phoenix Racing Honda, played an instrumental role in both Racers for Waverly and the reconstruction of the Loretta Lynn motocross track, an effort coined as Operation Ranch Rebuild.
David Eller, and I own Maxon Construction. We're a commercial residential builder out of the Carolinas. Also own the Phoenix Racing Honda team. And so with what went on here, we felt like we needed to do what we could do. And it started with me challenging our riders to pledge their purse money. You know, they need to pledge their purse money to Racers for Waverly. You know, every one of our riders have came through this program, and so that would, and if they would do it, I would match it. And we did that, and then got to really talking about it and said, well, look, we can do more. I mean, we can actually come and build this thing for them. It all hit social media, and so you're looking at the pictures, and really the pictures didn't do it as much justice as coming here and seeing them, because you were trying to figure by the pictures, like, okay, well, where is that point? Where is this? What part of the track is this? What part of the ranch is this? And but then when you really get here and you see how much was washed away and how much rock was rolled in here, it took a little bit of time to figure out what role we could play here, and what can we do. So it wasn't a right-away thing. It was sitting down and talking to, okay, how can we do this? And how can we tactfully do this because of the families of Waverly? I mean, you still go into Waverly, there's a lot of houses that are still, people have left. It's hard to not be able to go do something there too, but you can't go everywhere. We have guys from the residential construction side and the commercial construction side, so all of those guys are here for a week. Our electrical crew will be here this afternoon, so they'll get everything wired in. There's 3 of those guys coming. We got our safety director here to make sure that everybody's tied off for what they need to do to make sure we're good there. And then we've got 25 framers. So we're probably, about 40 people strong. We got the billboards back up and wired and everything that needed to be there. The mechanics area is pretty much a replica of what was there before. The Yamaha observation deck, we put a roof on it and lifted it up just a little higher, and they're going to wire it so there's fans and things up there. And behind the starting gate, we made it about 5 feet narrower to help with some of the pit area in the back to help open up some of that. So there's a few subtle changes. Unless you really spend every year here, you won't notice. When we come here in August and we see everybody back and the community back and the camaraderie that's here, I think it's a proud feeling to be able to bring that and help make that happen again.
The scar from the flood will be seen across the landscape of both Humphreys County and Loretta Lynn's ranch for the foreseeable future. Just as the Hurricane Creek has carved its way through the campground into the hearts of many athletes, a flood of hope now runs through the countryside in Middle Tennessee that once was barely a trickle.
Those first few days, it was hard to have a whole lot of hope because there was just so much going on, both on the government side and then on the side of our citizens. But since then, so many of the disaster relief agencies that I had no idea existed have come to our assistance and our aid of our citizens. It's been overwhelming, the type of help this community has received. It makes me want to do more in the future when a need like this occurs in any other area. But our people are being very well taken care of. And one thing about disaster relief workers is none of them have to be here, but they are here every day working, and it's because of their heart. It's why they're here and working. And then the fundraisers that have gone on have been just overwhelming. That people from across this country have seen the need of a small town, a small county like we have here, and tried their best to help us address those needs.
We're seeing recovery in Waverly, and we're seeing recovery in the outlying areas of the community, and we're seeing it here. We've seen it start early, but it's really concentrated now in preparation of the big event in August. We're very excited about that and so grateful for the generosity exhibited today with the donations to various needy entities within the community, but also for making certain that what we've come to depend on over the last 40 years as a major attraction in our community, and what really puts us on the map, the continuation of the annual AMA championship here. We're so grateful to the Coombs family and to Tim Cotter and his group for always being good corporate citizens and neighbors to Humphreys County.
The outpouring of support and donations and work and even just social media mentions that people did all over the country on behalf of Racers for Waverly, that really got this whole thing started. And then the fact that people like David Ellard brought his massive crew down here, and all the families that have come by and helped out on a weekend, or that's so important. And to me, just such a great symbol of what American motocross is, or at least what it can be when we all work together. When we have a common cause and we have a common need to work with one another, we can get an awful lot done. And when people come here this summer, they're going to realize that the place is better than ever. But what they're also going to get is a really warm welcome from the people in this community who, when they needed someone to step up and help, the Racers for Waverly and the racers that have come through here the last 42 years, they were there to help.